Welcome back after what feels like a break, actually.
Indeed.
Used to it. Right, agenda for tonight. Councillor Strachan, it is entirely your show this evening, so I hope you are in fine voice. Before we move on to that, has anyone got any? Well, let's do apologies. So I know Councillor Cox has sent, which is assuming that's it. Secondly, any declarations of interest? No. Go on, Simon.
Just that I'm a director of LWM. There's an item on the agenda today that covers
Great.
the report for that company.
Kerry, I'm going to take the same from you.
Same
Yeah.
interest.
Same for me.
Alex, would you like to? Yeah. Andy, have you got a declaration to declare there? You just
No, I haven't got one.
Fine, good. Super. Okay, in which case we've got those noted. Councillor Strachan, I'll pass over to you. The very first item is the LWM report, and you're doing this in conjunction with Councillor Andy Smith.
Well, on this one, I was actually going to manfully hand off to Councillor Andy Smith on the basis that otherwise it shits me all night, and he's one of the other shareholder reps. So, Andy.
I'll tell you what, why don't you give us your spiel on it, and then we'll hand it over to Andy to do his.
Well, I didn't actually prep an opening on this on the basis I thought that Smithy was going to do it. From what I've read of the report and heard reported to me by officers from within the company, it has been another excellent third year of trading, with particular delivery on a number of different items, including leisure and on disability facilities being real highlights. The company, I seem to recall reading somewhere that it continues to inspire me. I assume the chief executive or somebody wrote that, and it is a healthy company delivering very well on the council's priorities, doing everything we ask of it, and being in a position to support the council both with delivering on its objectives, but also in some notable areas, particularly leisure, helping us financially where we find ourselves with shortfalls. And I've seen the company has been able to backfill that via its contract. I'm sure there will be more to add, though, from those officers of the company who wish to put some more meat on the bones.
Super, thank you, Councillor Strachan.
Right, a couple of points that,
Over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Follow on to Councillor Strachan on that. Yeah, firstly, the I'm sure you've all read the report, and you'll see that it has been an excellent year for our local authority company. It's made a profit, and when I say profit, that's not a profit as in going into some shareholders' back pockets. But just to be really clear, how the governance of the company is set up, it's a wholly owned company by Lichfield District Council. And what that means is, because it's made a profit, that means that the council has been able to receive a dividend from the company back into the council's coffers, which gives us money, of course, as a council to improve services and improve Lichfield for our residents elsewhere. So that's fantastic news, and we will continue to grow that profit and dividend. I'll come on into a minute how that occurs, yeah, because this is not just wood and dollars, money out of the council into the company and money from the company back to the council again. So I'll come on to that in a minute. But just on the governance to start with, one of the things we've done this year is we've reviewed the governance of the company. So currently it has 4 directors. 3 of the directors are from the senior leadership team on the council. One of the directors is Councillor Farrell down the end there, who's also the chairman of the company. Councillor Farrell is going to come off the board of directors at some point this year. So Alex, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you very much for your hard work. I know that Simon, the MD of the company, has found your assistance and support extremely useful. So thanks very much for your help on that, Alex. Very much appreciated. I believe, and Simon will put a bit more meat on the bones on this, that we're recruiting another non-exec type director in that role to be the chairman. That's the directorship part of it, but of course then there's the other side of the governance is the shareholder interest. So of course in every company, shareholders always have some say in what goes on, and it's no different to this one. At present, there is a single individual councillor on this council that is the shareholder representative of the council on the board of the company. That happens to be me, leader. We're changing that now into what we're calling a shareholder advisory board. What that means is we'll be taking other councillors from all parties across the council to get involved in that advisory board, to basically have say in how the oversight on the commercials and the strategy and how that company's operated. So I think that shares it out a bit more in terms of how that oversight on the company, and that's important because the company's doing more and more. Just to give a couple of highlights on that, on what the company's currently services it provides. So the company spent £2 million purchasing property for temporary accommodation, which is good on a number of levels. It means we've got good accommodation to use for temporary use as needed. It means the company stroke the council has an investment in those properties, so they also go up in value as well. And it also saves the taxpayer money on renting hotels and accommodation on a short-term basis. It's a wise. That's £2 million spent on those. The company also runs all the leisure services for Lichfield District Council. That's the 2 current leisure centres, plus they will run the new leisure centre, which is coming online, will be opening on the 2nd of Jan. They'll be running that too. And when I say running, that includes the project maintenance of those. So, for example, in Burntwood Leisure Centre, we've recently commissioned a project to completely upgrade the wet side changing on the Burntwood Leisure Centre, and we've also added soft play, research the tennis courts, and added a climb wall. So it's the company not only just runs them and it also improves on the maintenance. We continue to provide DFG services, which is going extremely well, and is also used by other councils, I believe. We have talent acquisition, which is used for both recruiting staff in both the company, Lichfield District Council, and probably equally as importantly, other organisations. And that's where I came to the whole thing about the wooden dollars. So this company doesn't just sit there and provide services for Lichfield District Council, it also provides service for other councils and even other private companies as well. So that's where money comes into the company that is not paid for by the Lichfield District Council taxpayer, and then of course gets transferred across in dividends once the profit is made in the company. So that's a way to get extra money into our district, which at the end of the day improves our services for everybody. So that's a great news story. We've also put a communications service in there as well, media and comms. We've had a new director start on that at some point earlier on this year. We've launched an ecology brokerage service. I might let Simon describe what that exactly is, but we've launched an ecology brokerage service. The company also runs a planning consultancy service, which again, of course, will bring in money from elsewhere, and it's also responsibility for what we call the major new development type planning applications as well, to be expedient on getting those through as required. Finally, we perform a corporate governance service, which includes things like HR, which again, for obvious reasons, that can be done for the council. It can be for many other councils, many other organisations. I think, Chair, that's probably all I'm going to say on the matter. So what I'll do, if it's okay with you, Simon, I'm going to let you say anything you think I've missed or anything important you want to add to it in your role as MD, please.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Thanks, Chair, with your permission. So, all I was going to add to what Councillor Smith has said is that, I suppose, your point, Councillor Strachan, the sense of pride that I think we as directors have on a continuing basis, I suppose, over the company. We've got 200 members of staff who are providing high quality public services to our residents. I think our model is unique. There are not many local authorities in the country that have taken a similar approach to overcoming some of the problems of our sector in terms of attracting the right people, retaining the right people, delivering services at the quality and pace that residents expect. So really, really proud of the progress that we continue to make as an organisation, in addition to the financial benefits that the council is achieving. And then I was going to look really briefly at this current financial year, Chair, as well. So our focus this year is on extending our business activities if the council asks us to do so, on really developing the trading activities. So the services that we're providing to the council ourselves, now we're able to sell on the open market, and we're doing that more and more effectively, I think, this current financial year. And then the third thing that we're really proud to be able to do is to support the council to continue to extend the provision of temporary accommodation or social housing as well, which I know is a council priority. That was all I was going to say. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thanks for that. There's just one recommendation on the paper, and I will take questions before we move to that. Councillor Farrell.
Just a comment, really. I think Councillor Smith and Mr. Fletcher have described it very well. I think that it's an honour, I think, to have been the chair of the board. I think it's right that I'm standing down or consciously uncoupling myself from the board to then sidestep myself, hopefully back on to work as part of the shareholder advisory board. I think that's a really important function. I think it's important as a council, as it's a wholly owned company, that we as a council scrutinise LWM, but also celebrate it when it's doing really well. I know this takes in the last financial year, but only a couple of months ago we were out winning multiple planning awards. You know, it's a company that's clearly succeeding both financially but also reputationally, and I think that's really important because it's doing things that lots of councils in the way that councils are usually set up can't do, which is outsourcing work, bringing in extra revenue streams for the council, and ultimately working really well for Lichfield district taxpayers, which is the whole point of what we do here. So I want to say thanks to the team, especially to Simon, Kerry and Andrea, the directors. You know, they're doing a fabulous job, and long may it continue.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sorry, Chair, I forgot to pick up on one of the points that Councillor Smith asked me to. So once the shareholder advisory board is launched, the intent is that we then seek to recruit non-executive directors. Our articles allow for up to 7 directors. There are currently 4 directors on the company board. Once Councillor Farrell steps down, that goes down to 3. So we'll begin an active recruitment process in the next couple of months.
Thank you. Any more from anyone? Yes.
Some questions, yeah, from my chair. On the governance side, thank you very much for that part of the information there to for the non-exec directors. I think we're given a time frame of probably September time, and I just wondered if that was likely to be the case. So as far as the shareholder advisory board, when that was looking to be effective from, and equally when we're looking to recruit the non-exec director. That's a specific question, but if I can just say a couple of points to the rest of it, I think some of the information in here should be celebrated, especially, and the information with regards to the DFG, the Disabled Facilities Grants, 123% increase. You think, how is that possible? Well, that's because we did all of this year's and what wasn't done last year. And I think that is phenomenal, because if I think about some of the casework calls that I've had to do with that, you realise the actual impact that we're having on the quality of people's lives. And so whilst we're looking at percentages and numbers, actually it's quite easy for us, dare say, a number of us members to be able to equate that to human beings and the difference that it's making. On the communications front, that's one of the things that hasn't been mentioned, but I think over the years, many times as I've mentioned communications, I can see the level of spread that's now happening with regards to a lot what we're doing with the digital side. But I've also in the past been very quick to try and remind people that there's still a lot of our residents who use written form as well. And I've seen a balance between that coming out from the communications team too. So looking at some of the metrics that I've been able to do with regards to how many people are looking at some of the websites and the Lichfield and the events that's happening, that's been I think another one to celebrate too. Ecology brokerage. You mentioned that you're going to pass over to Simon for that one.
Thank you, Janice.
It's just the fact it is a unique and in some cases, pardon the pun, groundbreaking for what we are doing as part of the council, but also for the trading company facilitating that. We have 5 different biodiversity gain sites, 3 of those as part of the council land and 2 of those are private. Now those are putting together a way in which we can keep an awful lot of that environmental improvements, enhancements being done within the district, but also any financial support that's coming through within the district for the benefits of the residents, as well as being able to provide that consultancy service as well. But I think anybody who may be reading this report or looking at the broadcast this evening, is the focus is about how we're now building still further those networking relationships and spreading the word about what we can do, and also the benefits that it's bringing both for us as a local authority, but also private operators within the district. So in essence, my first question was about the governance side, but if I can also just seek just a little bit of clarity on priority one in the report, when it mentions about that we might, albeit bringing in some areas within the council that are struggling, just to give us an idea what some of those struggles might be.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
I'm gonna go over to Simon on those as well.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so the cabinet member decision is prepped. So as soon as that decision notice is issued, which we expect to be during this current month, we will be able to, with all of the right sort of governance clauses and things as that, we'll be able to begin recruitment for non-exec directors immediately. The point I was going to make about that, actually, Chair, is that we know that there are some excellent skills in our local community as well, both in the business community and in some of the community organisations and other things as well. I personally, as a director on the board, would really welcome any engagement from local people around the district who might have an interest in those non-exec roles. So we will make sure that we publish those widely and loudly as well, so people are aware that it's going to happen. And then in terms of priority one, there are no specifics right now, but I guess what we're saying in the annual report there is that we stand ready for the council to come to us. I wouldn't want to completely chuck any public service, council services under the bus this evening, without giving it a little bit more thought before I do so. Yeah.
Jay, if I may just come back on that one. Yeah, I wasn't expecting any specific. It was just about what type of struggles. Is it capacity? Is it resource generally?
Yeah.
That would then meet to qualify to come into the trading company.
Actually, Chair, that's really helped as well. Thank you very much, Councillor. So obviously some public services are really struggling to recruit local government officers, and the private sector provides a similar type of service, and they're able to attract local government officers. And those are the services that we've looked at previously. So our planning service that Councillor Smith mentioned as well, we were finding it really, really hard to recruit and then to retain planning officers. So effectively, we become the private sector for that element of planning in terms of the way that the LWM now processes some of the major applications. That means that our recruitment woes have gone away from a planning perspective, where other councils are still struggling to retain their planning officers. We're not. So those types of opportunities are things that we look for.
Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. When I was reading this, Simon, looking at the priorities going forward, particularly on planning, ecology and working with outside groups. And then I read about is it TECL status, 80%? So is there time when that could be at risk that we potentially could be trading with outside bodies more so than what we should be doing under the TECL status?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, with your permission. So yes,
That first.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and I get the legislation, Simon will talk about that, Phil, but just for me, generally, I would like to go as far as we can actually with trading with the outside bodies. The reason of what that means is economies of scale, really. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we provide these services to our own council. The more other councils and more other organisations we provide the services for, it's effectively cheaper for our council and our ratepayer. So that's I'm keen on that. But obviously, as you say, there's rules which may be signed on.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so our section 151 will tell me if I go off piste, but my understanding is, so we do pay very close attention to TECL. So we've taken some advice, legal advice and otherwise as well, and we continue to do that. Essentially, no more than 20% of our revenue on a rolling 3-year basis can come from that non-local authority background. Like Councillor Smith, I'm not overly concerned about that, to be honest. I think if the company grows to such a degree that we go beyond that 20%, as long as we have the right organisational structures and governance and procurement rules in place, I think that we will be in a strong position to compete for that additional work and to continue to do so. And as Councillor Smith has already said, the net benefit of any of those activities come back to the council through dividend or in other ways as well. Yeah. I think I've got that right about TECL. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Does that answer your question okay, Phil?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, right. No more questions. I think we go to the recommendation. Councillor Smith, I'll let you move that one.
I've only got the one recommendation at 2.1, which is that we, the Cabinet, review and improve the annual report for 24 and 25 and agree to its publication.
We'll support that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. Thank you, Councillor Smith, and Simon as well. And that. Right, Rob, back with you now then for the internal audit options update.
Thank you, Peter. Internal audit is a central strut of governance within this council. It's how we as a council mark our own homework and make absolutely sure that what we're doing is right and in line with where it should be. And where there are things going wrong, internal audit quite rightly pulls it up and makes recommendations, which via the internal governance structures, the committee can then pick up if they are not addressed at a management level. However, the entire audit community, both internally and externally, has been beset by severe staff and recruitment problems recently. Over a number of years, that team has been running below complement, and those problems don't look like they're abating in any way. We are reaching the end of our current co-source contract, whereby we retain the expertise of the head of internal audit, who we buy her time off Tamworth Borough Council and who have always been a very close partner of ours within audit. And so that contract has come up for review, and Rebecca Neal, as the head of internal audit, has made a number of recommendations. And we have before us a series of 4 options in effect. They are that we entirely insource the arrangement, so we take it fully in-house. That would mean that we ourselves alone will own the problems with recruitment and audit and is therefore unlikely to be a sustainable route. The second is that we go into a partnership with other authorities. Well, the key difficulty with that will be finding another authority to go into partnership with, given that across the sector we have the same problems. A third is that we fully outsource the scheme, which would be that we buy in the audit expertise, probably from one of the larger audit firms. And the pitfall of that, of course, would be that we'd lose the enormous skill and experience that we have within the team and familiarity with Lichfield and how it works. And so the proposal is that we have a co-source arrangement where we would extend the contract for the head of internal audit whilst trying to buy in the additional resource outside of the authority, thereby meaning that we retain the expertise that's within the team already, but we also get the job done, making sure that this council's work is marked fully, fairly and objectively. That is the heart of this paper. That is the recommendation. I would be seeking a delegation to award the contract in the fullness of time once the procurement exercise is complete. I would comment, though, in the context of local government reorganisation, it is likely that the shorter term arrangement is going to be the more appropriate for this authority, and that is what this represents, which is that we would effectively roll this for probably 2 to 3 years, while we work out whether we're going to continue to exist after those 2 to 3 years, and then revisit it either as a successor authority or successor authority can work out how it's going to run its own internal audit. I'm sure there will be questions or observations. I'm happy to take anything.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Strachan. I think in my mind, I'd sum it up that if we had all possibilities open to us, we wouldn't pick this one. But given the context we're in and the circumstances we're in, it's the best possible one that's available to us, even though it might not seem perfect. Questions on this one then? Janice.
It's more of a statement, I suppose, really, because I agree completely with that picture that you've just presented on there. The comment was about the detail in the report. I think that there's a good amount of detail in there that we've been able to look at what those different options are. The table at 3.2.1, I think especially, gives us that emphasis on continuity, would you say? Yes. I suppose with that particular part. So it is the middle ground, but given the context that in 2.5 years' time, we don't necessarily know what the format is going to be, and to try and get some type of longer term solution to that would be, I would say, nigh on impossible in the current environment to try and solve those. I think the relevant people have been consulted. The questions from the members of the audit committee I thought were very pertinent too, and form part of that common pros and cons table. So on the basis of that, I'm supporting it for sure.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. On this, Bill.
Just thinking as the world evolves, particularly cybercrime and all of that sort of stuff that we hear about in the big bad world out there, are we confident that the model that we're going down gives us that ongoing protection that we need to be one step ahead in that particular area?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a key risk that's on the corporate risk register and is looked at by the audit committee every time. We are constantly given the reassurance that the existing, which is effectively going to be rolled forward, the existing situation does give us that resilience against cybercrime. Obviously, this is the day that we get a cyber attack tomorrow, isn't it? The unpredictability of the world means that I can never fully exclude it, but I believe we are as well protected as we possibly can be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andy?
Just like, I know, I'd just like to understand, because it wasn't, I may have missed it, it wasn't quite 100% clear to me in the paper. I understand the difference between co-source and outsource. Okay, co-source means we have a manager, I think, that manages people that we use from the outsourcers. What's the, when we came with options appraisal, because looking on the table, the outsourcing, if I've counted correctly, had kind of more green highs than the co-source on it on that table. What was the outcome in terms of why not just go down the outsource route rather than that co-source, and then us have to recruit the role of the manager internally?
As the gentleman who oversaw that options appraisal, I'm going to hand that one off to Anthony.
So we've got an experienced, highly skilled principal auditor that's employed by the council.
Yes.
The risk with the outsource is that individual would be tupied to a third party. We would lose the skills and the resilience that brings. But it would, if by retaining the post in-house, it keeps us a little bit of resilience if there are problems with the outsource arrangement. But it also means we've got somebody that can contract manage them as well on our behalf. So it gives you the advantage of having the large part of it outsourced or co-sourced, including the IT side of it, but you keep some resilience and somebody that can oversee what they're doing, make sure that they're maintaining the quality we want, they're delivering as per we want, and chasing up internally. So it gives you those added advantages.
Okay, thanks, cheers, understood.
For what it's worth, I've said throughout to Ms Neal that I'm very, very keen to keep that very high level of competence that we already have within the council. I'd be very reluctant to see that go, given that it's, I think, certainly close on 20 years of experience of this authority.
I guess it is called internal audit at the end of the day, isn't it?
Knowing the authority help enormously.
Thank you, Chair, that's it from me.
Got it. Any more? No, in which case, over to you then, Rob.
I move recommendations 2.1 and 2.2 standing in my name.
Vote for that. Yeah, it's carried. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. Still with you. Procurement strategy 25 to 29.
Thanks, Leader. This is very much an update, far more than a brand new strategy. It's building on what we've learned so far in the first 3 or 4 years of having in-house procurement, and it's focusing very squarely now on this authority's strategic priorities. In particular, we are trying to evolve the strategy to make it a lot easier for small and medium enterprises local to Lichfield to do business and to bid for council business. And so we're trying to make it a lot easier for people to sell to the council. And also off the back of the most recent Procurement Act, we're trying very hard to focus this on supporting social value delivery within contracts. Just as a reminder, that's the additionality that we're looking for within contracts. So you're not just delivering a service, we're looking for things that improve quality of life across the district as well. And we've been particularly successful in delivering that on a few notable projects that I've spoken to here before, and I won't bore everybody with again. But while I'm on the topic of social value, I'm very pleased to report to Cabinet we have recently been nominated for 2 awards, one in the Public Finance Awards within the social value area, and the second, the Social Value Awards, both of which the Council is optimistic of scoring well. We've certainly been shortlisted in the Public Finance Awards, and looking alongside it, I think, although I'm biased, that we are far and away the best team within that category. We're also looking within this strategy to update some of our baselining. In particular, you'll see that we're including an extra line on the amount that we are procuring within the Staffordshire area, because we were tracking the district. We're now tracking the wider Staffordshire area, and we're implementing a new framework for tracking that. So the majority of this is driven by really trying to drive this council in as a leader locally, in terms of how we do business, but also by new legislation to bring it into line with the new Procurement Act. I'm sure there'll be questions. I can.
Sure there will. Thank you, Rob. I'll get Andy and then.
Thank you, Chair. I have no questions, just a comment really about how I fully support and really like to see the fact that our strategy do its utmost to support local businesses and the local economy. I think that's really important. At the end of the day, we are a council and not a business, and I think it's really important that we do that support. So thank you for that, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And Alex, over to you.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I think it's really, really important. I think 3.7.1, really enjoyed reading that section. Like Rob said, you know, we're going granular, not just kind of looking locally, but we're looking around where our work's coming from in the regions, Birmingham, Staffordshire, Wolverhampton, Worcester. I think it's really important that even if we can't find someone in Lichfield district, we might be able to find someone in our near neighbours, and I think that's really important. I also really like the section 3.7.3, the proactive local supplier engagement. As a local business, I always find bid for jobs, the bid websites can be horrifically difficult to get through, and then writing a bid itself, I mean, it's nothing worse than being contacted by somebody who will write the bid for you. It just, you know, you get into a loop you don't want to get out of. So I think it's really important that we're simplifying that, advertising locally and also working with people like Support Staffordshire. I think that's a really, really nice touch. So yeah, the more we can do to support local business, which clearly this paper is doing, I think the better.
Yeah, thank you. Speaking up on some of the trackability of that, of where we have local activity, obviously if we're buying a tech contract from a tech giant, that's obviously not going to be local. But where we're buying a construction or where we're entering into a construction contract, it may be that our partner is based some way away from the district. But if we can find ways to track that they're using local labour, that would be even better. And if there are ways that we can track that, because at the moment it's not routinely reported, which is probably what drags down some of our local procurement metrics. But if there are ways that we can find to report that, I do hope that I'll be in a position to bring good news back to Cabinet in the fullness of time.
Bill?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think this is a fantastic way forward, and I echo everything that has been said here. Clearly, as much as we can do to support local businesses, we should do, and that's fantastic. The one area of clarification for me, please, if you could, Rob, is I think it's contained within 3.17, and when I was looking at the paper, I didn't see very much reference to service level agreements, because, you know, supporting local businesses and making sure that we choose the right supplier is great. And I guess it's part of the contractual background anyway. But to me, the service level agreement after we've chosen the supplier is still of paramount importance. And I just wanted to make sure that I made that point and it was recorded somewhere.
No, thank you for making it. I know that it is pervasive within our contracting, that this is an element of it, and depending on the value of the contract depends how highly it goes within the scoring matrix in terms of what is actually delivered within the contract. But in terms of the post-contract performance, yes, you're absolutely right. There are probably better ways that we can track and report that. So look to bring that in future procurement updates.
Thank you.
Janice?
Yeah. Again, being able to track those metrics, I think, would be really helpful. And certainly we've got our baseline data as far as we've got the information that's here. And one of the things that I was particularly interested in when I was seeing this paper originally, because I was reading this not long after I'd been to a local Chambers of Commerce meeting.
Yep.
And there were a number of members of the business community who may be operating from home as opposed to premises, so not necessarily contactable through normal business rates routes and things like that.
Yep.
Who are really keen to want to be engaging with the council for work that was coming through. So one of the questions that I was looking at originally, and we've got some information in here now potentially about using LinkedIn to access that. But how often maybe we go out to people like Chambers of Commerce and just say, okay, well, this is the mechanism for your members if you want to do that. Because I think if you want to try and increase those 12% from Lichfield District, that we have a number of chambers that we can access.
Yep.
And how frequently that's done, because I can imagine there was a number of new startup businesses that were there, but actually some of those are turning over significant sums, but equally are operating still from home premises.
Yep.
Any ideas on that one and what we could do potentially in the future?
At the moment, we are not as fully engaged and aligned with the local chambers as I would like to see us being, and that is next on my hit list in terms of where I'd like to see us talk to people locally, because I really do think that that is key to opening the gateway to working locally with.
Fantastic.
Great, you're good. Bill, back to you.
Yeah, just something I missed a little bit early on, Rob, and I think it's at item 1.4 in the summary. And to me, it does show the value of overview and scrutiny that can really add at times like this to the wider picture, and a larger audience can certainly feed into this type of procurement exercise. So I think that's a great example of where another committee, if you like, can feed in for the benefit of the overall ambition to get a great paper.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this actually reflects true cross-party working. There are members and indeed former members from across the political spectrum who have experience in and around particularly social value across the country. Some have been very helpful in suggesting good examples. I'm pleased to report that we now appear to be one of the good examples that people are looking to because of the work that we've done here in Lichfield. So I hope that we'll continue to build on that. But yes, if members across the political divides have ideas about what we can do better and how we can engage better, I am always listening.
Thank you.
Answer your question. Good. Right, no more questions then, Rob. Stick with you for the recommendation on the procurement strategy, which I think is very straightforward.
Only recommendation 2.1, but I am pleased to move it.
Right, thank you. All in favour, and that's been passed. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. Still with you for the Money Matters Report 25-26, and there was a supplementary paper that came out yesterday, I believe.
There was indeed. The supplementary paper contains the revised recommendations after a couple of late changes that have come in on this paper.
Brilliant. Has everyone got that supplementary paper just to make sure we're all working off the same?
Yeah, got it.
Brilliant. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in terms of headlines, this is the Q1 report. I am delighted to report that the council remains in robust financial health, which is not necessarily usual across the sector, and that is thanks in no small part to the efforts of Anthony and the finance team, to whom I, as ever, pay tribute and give thanks. This is the Q1 report, so please do bear in mind that any of the figures reported throughout the report and its appendices represent 1 quarter of our trading in this year, but performance, I'm pleased to say, is above the 25% that one might expect, and so is healthy at this stage. In terms of the business as usual with the revenue budget, we are broadly where we expected to be. There are some shortfalls in vacancies with our retail let, particularly on Bakers Lane and on Bore Street, but they are offset by the contingency reserve that we set up to deal with exactly this volatility, and so they're not hitting us quite as hard as we'd have expected. You'll also see there are specific lines within this report dealing with leisure centre performance, which is a little bit of a wobble authority, but I'm pleased to report that with assistance both from the Leisure Reserve, which we set up when we took these back in-house, with the monies paid to us by our former partners, and with assistance from Lichfield West Midlands Traded Services, we are able to deal with or weather most of the storm with that. You'll see there is one main variance within the capital programme, turn to that, and that is that we've delivered the waste fleet early, and so that does knock the capital programme out of kilter by £5.6 million, which is perhaps not a small sum, but that was within the 4-year budget anyway, so it's not what we might expect being the major wobble. And I'm pleased to report that delivering that early also protects us against any further inflation within that sector, although we'll be seeing what happens when we start doing food waste recycling. Councillor Whitehouse, watch this space. In terms of capital receipts, we have not yet disposed of Venture House, and we're currently projecting that it may well be sold at slightly below what we were hoping to receive for it, and so we are going to need to find a way to address that and pick up that potential shortfall in that disposal. It may be that other things in the fullness of time and in the rest of the financial year do come to our rescue on that. And I'm also pleased to report that our investments are still in reasonably good health, and that the reserve that we set up to deal with volatility on our strategic investments now outstrips the book loss by in excess of £500,000. So there's £574,000 additionally in that, over and above our investments. Our collection performance on both council tax and business rates, accepting that it's early days, is still healthy, as it has always been in this authority, and I'm pleased to see that that is continuing as it should be and is in line with budget or in surplus. And our payment within 30 days performance is still above the 90% metric, not quite at the 100% that we may dream of, but 93.3% of our suppliers are paid within 30 days of invoice date. I strongly suspect that there are going to be things that people would like to ask, so I will shut up at that stage.
Councillor Strachan?
Maybe not then.
Go on, go straight through. Janice?
I thought I got away with it.
In fact, you've touched on all of the ones that I was going to mention. First of all, the risk status.
Yeah.
I think that actually, I think you were being very conservative with the small c with that one, given the current circumstances. I think that's an encouraging maintenance of that one and how that's panning out. A little bit to Venture House, if we've got any idea of when that's likely to be completed by, so that at the moment we're looking at a shortfall of 55k, that it's not likely to vary much more by that. And then the only other one was with regards to the Food and Drink Festival, which certainly from all of the people that I've spoken to was something that the council went into, and people, and certainly those that I've met when I was there for the days that I was, thoroughly enjoying that event, and just to see how the budgeted item in here is likely to be working out in the future, potentially, if we are able to say anything. But certainly to all of the officers who were there, and Chair, through yourself potentially, it was wonderful to see so many people out in the city and having a good time.
In terms of the completion date on Venture House, I did see a nod from officers, but I am also going to ask whether Anthony would assist us with the resilience of that figure for Food Festival. I'm very pleased to see that it appeared to go off without a hitch, despite the quite late notice nature of it. I know that we were very fortunate with the weather in terms of how people were able to come out and move around, but it did seem to be a success. But the resilience of that number, I think we put a £40,000 budget line in that for next year potentially. I'm sure that Anthony will be able to reassure me on that.
So just on Venture House, that has completed now, so that number is hard and fast. Yeah.
I got an email, but I can't remember what
After we wrote the report, I know that.
Yeah.
So the shortfall that's in there is crystallised. And then just on the 40k, so Louise Lewis went through her costs and actuals, and costs and the actuals are very close to the 40,000. I think on the schedule I've got here, they're about £500 different. So that number looks robust compared to what the costs were that Louise has sent through.
Yeah, super. Any more on this paper then? No. In which case then, let's get straight to recommendations, Rob.
Thank you very much. In fact, sorry, there was one item that I missed, and it's within recommendation 2.5. And if there's anything else that anybody needs to raise, that is that within the capital programme that we adopted in February, we included a £225,000 line of localities funding. And in terms of delivery of that funding from that pot, it simply hasn't been working. So to improve liquidity and make sure that we actually do get that spent, we're going to fold that back into the revenue budget and deal with it through that, rather than simply locking away £250,000 nearly in a reserve that we never actually access, or that we're struggling to access. We'll do it in a slightly different way. That doesn't mean that we're abandoning the priority. We're still going to do it. We're just doing it in a slightly different way.
Okay, makes sense. Any questions about that specific point? No, in which case,
Thank you. In that case, I move recommendations 2.1 through 2.5.
In favour of it. That's supported unanimously as well. Thank you, Councillor Strachan.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen.
Well done. Thank you for your officer supporting